Are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
What did they do? How did they get famous?
It goes down in the Buckeye State.
Yeah, but they got
of
famous
Ohio.
first. This is what's interesting. They got famous first, and then turns out they can fight. Especially Jake. That kid can knock people the f*** out. He knows how to punch.
Can he knock fighters out, though?
Well, we don't know. I mean, we saw Askren, right? But Askren, first of all, coming off of a hip replacement surgery, it's a brilliant move, right? You get a guy who's arguably the worst striker in elite MMA, which is Ben Askren.
Right.
And that's no disrespect to Ben Askren. He'd probably admit to that. Phenomenal
wrestler, right?
Phenomenal wrestler, like elite wrestler. Great guy. Not a good striker. You make him box. It's like the worst thing that he does. And then Jake Paul starches him with one punch. But you looked at his body. He looked severely out of shape. It looked like he hadn't trained for a long time and then kind of got in good enough shape so he could compete. The guy knows how to fight and knows how to win, but that's not his sport. It's not his sport at all. He just took a paycheck.
I'd like to see this guy, Jake Paul, fight someone.
Who's going to fight Tyron Woodley?
Well, after he fight, can Tyron Woodley fight? Can he box?
I know he can punch. He punches really hard, but he doesn't punch like a boxer. He throws big bombs and sets up takedowns, and he can crack though. With one shot, he could f anybody up. But the thing is, like, the way he throws shots, he'll throw like a bomb and then set up a takedown or set up a clinch. He's not a guy who's like going out there with peekaboo style, throwing jabs and hooks to the body. That's not his style. He's never been a guy who boxed. He's been a guy who uses boxing in MMA, but he uses everything.
Does Jake Paul beat him, you think?
Oh, we won't know until they get in there. The thing about it is he'll be the most dangerous guy that Jake's fought for sure.
If Jake Paul,
not even close. Not even close. And no one more dangerous than Tyron Woodley.
All right, well, if he beats an MMA fighter, because
Tyron's not just an MMA fighter. Tyron is he's a UFC world champion and one of the best welterweights of all time. If you looked at all the UFC welterweights of all time, he's top 3. He's fucking phenomenal.
But there is something fundamentally different about MMA fighters fighting a boxer.
Yeah, because there's other stuff that you incorporate into your movement, right? You're worried about leg kicks. You're worried about takedown defense. You're worried about all these different things. So you have all these different variables on your plate. Now you remove all those variables. You give Tyron a pair of shoes and you just let him punch. He punches really fucking hard. And when he doesn't have to worry about wrestling, he doesn't have to worry about getting as tired, and he can pick his shots, he'll be the most dangerous guy that Jake Paul's ever fought, for sure. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he wins. And I think Jake Paul can box. If you look at that Nate Robinson fight, I know Nate Robinson didn't know what he was doing, but the way he landed those punches, he cracked him, he knocked him out moving backwards. He can move backwards and then plant. So he doesn't have like big wind-up movements. Like his brother has more wind-up shots. His brother was throwing more windmill-y type arm punches. Jake throws things straight and hard. They're dangerous, much more dangerous.
Here's why I have more respect for the older brother, what he just did. Yes, he outweighed him by 40 pounds, but he got in there with perhaps the best fighter to ever get in the ring. I'd love to see how Jake Paul fares against someone similar in size that is a boxer.
Yeah. Well, you know what, man? He's only got a couple of fights. Here's how you have to look at him. Look at him like any other guy who only has a couple of fights. If you saw a guy who's coming up and he didn't have an amateur career and he's only had a couple of fights, you'd go, man, he's got some promise.
Yeah, no, but these guys aren't in it for are they in it for the long haul to become boxers?
Jake says he is.
They're in it to become spectators.
But imagine if this guy gets all the way up to a world title fight. Imagine if he actually works his way through some professional boxers.
That would be remarkable, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't just be remarkable. Money he'll be able to earn.
Well, how about fighting a recently retired? You know who would fuck him up right now?
Are you saying Andre?
Well, even because he can't fight. Andre can't fight professionally anymore because he's had some physical problems. But Andre's still in shape. He's recently retired, and maybe he'll get
Are you trying to set something up? Look at you
I
looking
know.
away. You're like the worst poker player ever. It's like, well, maybe.
I just know. I know. Look, that's my brother. I mean, I know that he's like.
Has he thought about it?
He's thought about it. You're right. A lot of money was put on the table for him to fight Canelo, and we still get. James and I still get asked about it, and he has that stick-to-itness.
But why would he be willing to fight Jake Paul?
Because I think it's, in his mind, it's an exhibition, and I don't think that he looks at it as even a remote threat, that it could tarnish his legacy, or that he would have to expend too much physically. I think that he probably is sitting back looking at this and like, you know what? I can now secure not just my children, but my great-grandchildren's futures. And I could, I think that there's a part of Andre, if you know him well, everything that I've set aside, he's got some dog up in him. If you ever watch his fights, if he gets hit, you'll see him, now I'm going to get you 4 times. He is a mean SOB. And I think that there's a part of him that sees this and is like, these guys need to be put in place, and I can do it pretty easily.
But do you think that Jake Paul would be willing to fight a guy like Andre Ward, Olympic gold medalist, multiple division world champion, undefeated fighter?
No.
Who's still young?
No.
I mean, how old is Andre? 35?
Yeah, just turned 35.
Yeah.
36.
He's still in the prime of his athletic career, or close enough to it.
But he's a little banged up physically. He basically,
You trying to sell this fight?
No,
That's what it seems like to me.
Not trying to sell.
Seems like you're trying to.
I would love for the guy. I would love for Jake Paul to be like, you know what? I'll take that on. But in my mind, it's like that would never happen. The guy's very risk adverse.
I don't know about that. I mean, Tyron's a risk. Tyron Woodley's a real risk, and he's also offering to bet Tyron his purse. Said he'll donate Tyron's purse to charity.
I noticed that Tyron did not pick him up on it.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, I mean that's a.
I noticed that. I said Tyron is just saying, I'm not saying anything.
I think Tyron needs that money.
Yeah.
I think he's planning 100% on that money, and if he were to lose the fight, not good. Yeah. So I think he's the biggest threat, though.
Hey, listen.
He can knock him out, and I think he's got a legitimate shot at hurting him.
There's something.
It's hard, man. I have a question for you. What do you make of all of these exhibitions have like caught fire? I don't know if it's because of COVID that people began like thinking, well, if I gotta watch something, I'll watch anything.
Yeah.
And then they watch, and Tyson and Lennox are now talking about an exhibition that might happen.
These Paul brothers, Logan and Jake, they're making some big money moves. They're making a lot of money, and they got everybody talking about them, including us.
I was verified before fighting, so you gotta get the record.
I mean, we in the same field, baby. We do this. You know that. We in the same field, baby.
Squeeze it right here. See.